Hello once again and welcome to the fastest half hour in the cryptid world, This Week in Bigfoot, the news show that scours the internet and the Bigfoot community each and every week to bring you the people, places, and stories making headlines around the Bigfoot world. Then we take it and we wrap it up in a nice, neat 30-minute package. If it has to do with Sasquatch, Bigfoot or the Wildman, trust me, we've got you covered. This week is the Bigfoot narrative broken. It looks like it just might be. We'll take a shot at trying to right that ship. Mike Luci investigates how mosquitoes just may answer the Bigfoot question. Snowwalker Prime takes on Todd Standing Sylvanic Bigfoot in a must-see 2 minutes with. And the strength of Bigfoot, what makes it so massive. These stories and more Bigfoot news in a shorter amount of time, so you better buckle up, settle in, and hit that subscribe button. Oh, and hang on, because we move fast around here. You ready? The clock's ticking. Let's go.
911, what are you reporting?
He's walking upright like a man.
With someone or something going around out here.
But he went back up the mountain.
Get somebody out there.
What's going on now, sir?
That son of a bitch is about 6'9", I don't know. He's all black and big. He is big.
The Bigfoot phenomenon has long captured the imagination of enthusiasts, researchers, and investigators alike. I mean, we do it right here on a weekly basis. However, in recent years, a growing concern has emerged regarding the credibility and consistency of the Bigfoot narrative. With an ever-increasing number of individuals claiming contact with the elusive creature, the lack of definitive proof raises questions about the validity of these accounts. We kick off this week taking a page from Squatch Talk's Pat Turner's playbook and pose the question, is the Bigfoot narrative broken? And examine the proliferation of claims without any kind of definitive proof. In the age of digital media, platforms like Facebook and YouTube have become breeding grounds for Bigfoot narratives. Numerous self-proclaimed researchers and investigators consistently share their stories and encounters, often describing repeated experiences with the legendary creature, and often in the same location. If Bigfoot is truly made of flesh and blood and is as intelligent and elusive as most say, and you're being completely honest with yourself, you have to ask yourself the question, why on earth do they remain in a location that is human scent and human activity on a regular basis? I mean, even white-tailed deer beat it out of an area when there's too much human activity around. And last time I checked, even though white-tailed deer are highly skilled at survival, they're not considered smarter than Sasquatch. And so the contradiction between the creature's supposed rarity and the frequency of reported encounters is becoming a huge problem with the Bigfoot narrative. From the Pacific Northwest to the Appalachians and from Michigan's Upper Peninsula all the way down to the Mississippi Gulf Coast, sighting reports and researcher accounts abound, challenging the very essence of the creature's mythos. And despite advancements in technology, the lack of concrete evidence remains a pervasive problem within the Bigfoot community. Many researchers equipped with sophisticated tools such as night vision cameras, digital audio recorders, GoPros, and drones are all too eager to share their experiences online, but often fail to provide any definitive proof. Now, why is that? Now, I did say many and not all, so remember that when you comment on this segment. Be nice. Because if we don't have these difficult conversations and continue to sweep this under the proverbial Bigfoot rug, things will never improve.
Everybody, my name is Todd Standing.
Another aspect contributing to the broken narrative is the reliance on self-proclaimed specialized knowledge. Some researchers argue that their unique understanding of Bigfoot's behavior, calls, or habitat somehow makes them more likely or qualified to have encounters. And then they often look to monetize their unique skills in the form of paid expeditions into the belly of the beast. This claim of special insight raises skepticism, and it should, as it implies a select group possesses some sort of knowledge that the broader scientific community lacks. A quick search on Facebook for hiking and outdoors groups shows us that no less than 867,000 people are active within these groups, and that's just the search of North Georgia. We're using that as an example. The latest figures available for hikers and campers in the United States comes from the year 2022, with the number a staggering 60 million, with the average hiker taking 6 trips into the woods each year. That's a lot of people wandering the forests of the United States. So, while eyewitness accounts can be compelling, the absence of definitive proof raises a significant challenge to the credibility of the Bigfoot narrative. In a community saturated with extraordinary claims, the scientific community and skeptics alike call for tangible evidence, such as high-quality photographs, videos, or even DNA samples to substantiate these stories. Now, don't get me wrong, as most of you know, I do my best to sit right on top of the fence between skeptic and believer, as I have yet to be swayed in one particular direction. But I don't think asking for any of the above is asking for too much. Do you? As technology continues to advance, the burden of proof becomes increasingly important to maintain the credibility of the Bigfoot phenomenon. And so, researchers and investigators must grapple with the contradictions within their own narratives and strive to bridge the gap between personal anecdotes and scientific scrutiny. Only through a commitment to empirical evidence can the Bigfoot narrative evolve beyond a collection of stories and creepypasta back into the legitimate field of study it once was. For more on this story, we turn it over to Mike Luci.
All right, thank you, Brendon. So this self-contradictory narrative has many researchers and online personalities believing there's a very hard truth looming over the Bigfoot community. And it's one that many people are unaware of or outright unwilling to acknowledge. It's that most documented Bigfoot encounters, whether they're eyewitness reports, photos, videos, castings, whatever they are, the vast majority of them simply aren't true. To reiterate, Squatches are supposed to be extremely rare and elusive creatures. However, brand new photos, videos, stories, they seem to surface every day online, coming from all over North America, even places where they have no business happening. As Brendon noted, our friend Pat Turner touched on this exact topic in a recent episode of a show, Squatch Talk. Let's roll that clip.
Like, elusive and rare, right? Because that explains so much about why we can't get evidence. You know, whenever the evidence word comes up, elusive and rare. But, I mean, we go here and they come around the camp and they interact with us and wait, hold on. I thought they were elusive and rare. This is not the behavior of an elusive and rare creature. And there's your supreme contradiction. One of these things is not like the other. This is a true contradiction that cannot be logically overcome. So one of them is definitely not true. It could be both aren't true.
I tried a little more with Pat on this contradiction of narratives. Here's what he had to say.
And I've thought in my own head, I've tried to come up like, okay, if I was pushed in a corner, how would I worm my way out of this? How would I, get out of this contradiction? And I'm like, well, people will just they'll just like default to different terminology that says the same thing as rare and elusive. Well, they're forest ninjas. Okay, well, that's the same thing, right? Ninjas are kind of known for elusive tactics. It's kind of how they get their job done. And so I've thought of ways that it maybe couldn't be a contradiction, or the two ideas or narratives could handshake well, and I just don't see it. So at the end of the day, it's such a powerful contradiction to me that it really comes down to, well, one of these things just simply can't be true. And I have my own opinions about which one that is, that's for sure.
So in essence, and he's sort of right, Pat reiterates how we simply can't have it both ways. And with that said, it really makes one wonder exactly how much of everything we see and hear out there is BS. I pulled members of the Bigfoot subreddit on this topic, and as you can see, a plurality of voters, around 43%, said more than 80% of Bigfoot documentation isn't real. Over 69% of people who voted on the poll said that more than 60% of everything out there isn't BS. So pretty much almost nearly 70% of people who voted believe that the majority of content out there allegedly documenting Bigfoot's existence is fake or misidentified or hoaxed or just made up. I know we're supposed to just report what we find on this show, but I personally believe it's somewhere in the 95 to 99% range. And I'm sure a large number of those voters would agree. But I wanted to keep the percentiles for each choice equal, so yeah. Having said that, you can't overlook the sheer enormity of all this alleged documentation. people are definitely seeing something, and it sheds light on how any elements of truth behind this phenomenon are essentially needles buried in haystacks of misidentifications, hoaxes, or outright fabrications. I discussed this aspect more in depth with Pat, and as he points out, these falsehoods break down into a litany of subcategories, making it that much harder to weed out the ones with any merit.
I think it's a mix of things. It's you have outright hoaxers, you have liars, and you have people who are lying to themselves, and then you have people who are just misidentifying the things that are happening around them in the woods. And within those four things, I think there's 1,000 subcategories, and some of them mix with each other, So it just goes such a wide spectrum of reasons why the false narrative gets put out there. It's undeniable.
I want to thank Pat for chatting more with me on this topic. Be sure to check out his show Squatch Talk on YouTube. There was a lot to unpack here that we covered pretty thoroughly. But if we're ever going to unravel this age-old mystery, we got to take these perspectives into consideration, no matter how hard they might be for some of us to hear. Just remember, it doesn't mean Bigfoot isn't real. Just that any noteworthy documentation of it is far more sparser than what we see online might lead us to believe.
Why is Bigfoot so strong? What makes it such a massive, hulking beast? You hear these reports all the time from people that see this giant, muscle-bound beast coming out of the woods in front of them. Why is that so? Well, bear with me on this one. We're going to speculate a little bit. We're going to compare it to mountain gorillas. We're going to see how it turns out. And we just might uncover a fascinating interplay between genetics, daily activities, and unique dietary abilities that just might set Bigfoot apart from the rest of the animal kingdom. Much like mountain gorillas, Bigfoot is claimed to have an impressive muscular build, despite primarily consuming mostly plants and probably some limited proteins. The suspected key to their impressive build most likely lies in their genetic blueprint, similar to the robust physique seen in mountain gorillas. This unique genetic advantage allows them to naturally build and maintain substantial muscle mass without the protein-rich diet typically associated with muscle building. Complementing their genetic advantage is the thicker than normal bone structure, designed to support considerable weight, enabling the development of their muscular size. Their jaw muscles, a testament to their practical strength, must also be incredibly powerful, allowing them to crush anything they consume, akin to the powerful biting force, again, of a mountain gorilla. Daily activities of Bigfoot must also play a crucial role in shaping Bigfoot's impressive physique. Engaging in constant cycle of movement, their days are most likely filled with excessive walking, covering significant distances over rugged and steep terrain. This not only strengthens their leg muscles, but enhances their overall endurance. Reports suggest that Bigfoot is adept at tree manipulation, engaging in activities like bending and breaking large trees for whatever reason, whether it be communication or for shelter, and possibly using only their arms. This high-intensity workout routine for their upper body also most likely contributes to their overall muscular prowess. Think about it. They're always working out. In addition to strenuous activities, Bigfoot, like mountain gorillas, must also know how to rest. Balancing intense daily activities with periods of rest allows their body to recover and muscles to grow and repair, creating a perfect equilibrium for muscle development. Unique dietary abilities might also contribute to Bigfoot's muscularity with the ability to digest cellulose, a challenging plant fiber. Similar to gorillas, Bigfoot's digestive system must allow them to ferment plant material. They have to have an extra long colon to allow them to extract maximum nutrients from their diet of herbs, leaves, fruits, and plants. Now, this was just a speculative look into the world of Bigfoot, comparing its strengths and dietary habits to known creatures like, mountain gorillas. Whether or not Bigfoot exists remains a mystery to some, but the exploration of these aspects should shed light on the wonders of nature and the unknown.
Tonight's episode is sponsored by Larynx.
Most people consider mosquitoes to be biting, disease-spreading nuisances, and I've always been inclined to agree. But I recently learned some new information about these arthropods, which made me realize they could play a key role in potentially solving the Bigfoot mystery.
you're putting out a mosquito trap in a very...
I first heard about this groundbreaking proposition while watching the same Squatch Talk episode we covered in our lead story. Pat had Jeff Harding of Pine Island Research on, who talked about a study that involved collecting mosquitoes for the purpose of researching virus transfers among deer and other mammalian wildlife. When I spoke with Jeff, he clarified the enormous potential the study could have on Bigfoot research. Check it out.
What I found interesting is they were funded to study just the transfer of viruses amongst these vertebrate mammals, not humans in that. So out of the results they were getting that showed human DNA or any form of human DNA, they threw that aside. They weren't interested in it. But I started realizing they have the capability to do it. Even though they weren't doing it, they had the capability to do this. Let's get out in these truly remote areas of the Pacific Northwest, Canada, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Montana, Idaho, Alaska, and let's set these traps up. In one night, you'll catch 1,000 mosquitoes, okay? Well, about a fourth of those will have a blood sample in them from a blood host within the last 12 hours. And let's start testing them.
Now, there's some important factors to consider when calculating the probability of this working. A mosquito's average lifespan, for example, is typically around 2 weeks. After feeding, they typically rest for about 3 days and need about 3 to 5 to digest a blood meal. A majority of mosquitoes will typically only travel 1 to 3 miles from their breeding ground, but some species can reportedly venture upwards of 100 miles under exceptional circumstances. I also found a few studies saying the gender ratio for mosquitoes is male biased. This is important because only female mosquitoes feed on blood. So with these aspects in mind, what are the odds of a female mosquito encountering a squatch passing through its territory? In most cases, a mosquito's general range is just a few square miles out of thousands or millions of vast wilderness. Moreover, said mosquito has to be in the same area as one of these traps and must get caught before fully digesting the Bigfoot blood. It's also worth noting some areas could contain several millions of mosquitoes per acre, and if these traps are only collecting thousands of samples, well, it only accounts for less than 1% of mosquitoes in that given area. So all things considered, one could argue we're still facing sort of a needle in a haystack type scenario here. Here's what Jeff said when I asked for his thoughts on the probability of all these factors aligning.
When it comes to how popular are they, or how often would you see one, or how easy should it be to collect a sample, I don't know. In my mind, if we went out and collected 5,000 to 10,000 samples and we don't have one yet, I've got to deal with that then. Despite the fact that I'm a believer and I've had an experience, I'll have to deal with that then. It's going to be hard.
This segues into another major determinant. I wondered if it'd be more important to collect these samples in selected areas with high mosquito populations or purported Bigfoot hotspots. Jeff's response definitely made sense.
And we're going to be doing it in remote areas that don't have a lot of human presence, but are areas that have some historical significance. We aren't going to the East Coast and to the Southeast simply because I don't want to start everywhere. I want to start in one area where likely those vertebrate mammals that will be in the population of blood hosts that we collect DNA from are similar.
Thanks to Jeff for the tremendous insight on this fascinating concept. Check out Jeff's YouTube channel and podcast, Pine Island Research. He also has a book titled The Pine Island Incident that covers this topic in more detail. We threw some links in the video's description. This is one of the more compelling approaches I've heard regarding Bigfoot research. Do you think mosquitoes hold the key to unlocking this long-standing mystery? We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Well, it's that time again, folks. It's the segment of our show that's developed a bit of a cult following. It's the part of the show where we give content creator Michael Merchant, you know him as Snowwalker Prime, screen time to speak his mind and get what's ever bothering him off his chest. Yup, you got it. This is 2 Minutes With.
Echo Station 3K. Just spotted a serial walker.
totally different view. This guy spent $2,500 and he went out with this top tier researcher named Todd. Oh, good Lord. Todd Standing. You know, for somebody that doesn't believe in Bigfoot, you seem to know all of these people. These people are hoaxers. No. Todd has taken a case in front of the Supreme Court of Canada. Yeah, and he lost and was forced to pay damages. Well, be that as it may, he still brought the case to court.
I'm pursuing this court case because the evidence is overwhelming. Like a prosecuting attorney in a murder case won't prosecute unless they have tremendous evidence.
Yeah, I know, but it didn't go anywhere. And he took Dr. Jeff Melbrum and Bingernickel out into the woods and he showed him Sasquatch. I don't think that's what happened. What do you get when you cross Bigfoot with a dog? A dog that nobody can find. So this guy paid $2,500 and went camping with him, yeah? Well, he thinks that we should forgive Todd for hoaxing. Hypothetically, if Todd may have hoaxed. I think it's a given that Todd has hoaxed.
Look at this fucking stupid fake Bigfoot face.
Yeah, but this guy is saying that he went out with him and that he's legit now, so it's water under the bridge and we should just move on and give him a free pass. What do you get when you cross Bigfoot with a dog? A dog with huge feet! So Todd admitted to hoaxing? Well, no, I wouldn't say that. How can you forgive somebody if they've never admitted to doing anything wrong?
Any of this getting through that little old blue bonnet of yours?
I just think it would be best for the field if we were to move on from this harsh criticism. You have to admit to wrongdoing in order to be forgiven. Look, they do it in court all the time. They give people free passes and they let them slide and, you know, they let them have a new life, a new start. You've heard of a new start. Again, in court, that's when people have shown remorse for what they've done.
No comment.
Todd hasn't shown any remorse. What do you get when you cross Bigfoot with a dog? I don't know, but one thing you won't be getting, mail. He's a brilliant man. Look, I'll give you this. His videos are very entertaining. Aha! You think they're entertaining? Entertaining, but not real. Todd's amazing. He's got one of those 6-wheel drive gizmos that goes... You wind up like the wreck you hide behind that mask you use. Do you have one of those gizmos? Look, just because I don't have an ATV doesn't... Aha! I knew you didn't have one. Just because I don't have one doesn't mean that my opinion isn't valid. Have you seen how physically fit he is? He runs and he jumps and then he dives and he wears a ghillie suit.
Counter surveillance, survival, evasion, and escape techniques.
Looking like a true survivor, feeling like a little kid. You don't have a ghillie suit. Look, if I had a ghillie suit, I wouldn't be using it to fake people, to hoax people. The guy that spent $2,500 says that Todd is legit. No, boy. Says he's legit. Maybe he doesn't want to feel like he got snookered for giving him $2,500.
So many times I come to a place and the Sasquatch have made preparations for me to come.
The guy is completely full of shit.
Look, I bet if you ponied up $2,500, Todd would show you a Sasquatch too. I'm not giving Todd $2,500. Ah! There's the crux of it, isn't it?
There's like a fucking, he's wearing a mask.
2, 1, oh.
You don't want to fund legit research. Todd's not legit research.
It looks so fake.
Good Lord, man. He's the only one getting $2,500 for outings. That doesn't make him legit. I don't know. It just means he's really good at fleecing people. I think you believe in him. That's not what I said. I know it's not what you said. It's not the words coming out of your mouth that's important. It's your intent. My intent is the same as it's always been. I think this is a load of hogwash.
It's so dumb it hurts your feelings.
I think somebody that spent $2,500 would know better than you, mister. I don't see anything new coming out of that camp. I don't see any reason to give Todd a pass if he's never admitted to hoaxing. What do you name a dog that doesn't have any legs? It doesn't really matter. He's not going to come when you call him.
You gotta keep on your toes. Toes, that is.
Wild Bigfoot by Larix, the official hat of This Week in Bigfoot, sponsored by Larix.
It's time once again for the Bigfoot Rundown. The Bigfoot Rundown.
So what does everyone think about this interesting lumber I stumbled across in one of the many Bigfoot believers Facebook groups? It was reportedly found in Eagle-less Lake in northeast New Mexico. It was the only print photographed, surprise, surprise, and we have nothing to use for scale. But it does look good. Commenters proposed it being anything from a Squatch, human print, to a bear double step. One commenter even thought it was from a skinwalker. I did find a good amount of reports from the surrounding area, including other potential track discoveries. One thing worth noting, however, while this print was allegedly photographed in New Mexico, the Facebook user who posted it reportedly lives in Kansas. I mean, yes, people go on vacations or pass through areas, but I just think it's something important to keep in mind about this photo when deciding if you think it's real or fake.
For nearly 40 years, the SETI Institute, a nonprofit research organization in Mountain View, California, has been searching for intelligent life forms beyond our Earth. A philanthropic gift of $200 million announced last week is bringing the quest closer to reality. The windfall came from the estate of Franklin Antonio, co-founder of Qualcomm, communications chip company who died last year at the age of 69. Antonio was well known for his generous contributions to scientific endeavors and spent more than a decade supporting the SETI Institute and its mission to find extraterrestrial life. In his memory, SETI will continue its pursuit in one of the biggest and most profound questions in all of science, a question that is old as humanity itself. Are we alone in the universe? The $200 million grant will continue the Institute's work with radio telescopes and will also have a wider reach, as it will help support new research positions, fellowships, and international partnerships, with a particular focus on educating the public about the Institute's scientific endeavors.
Got a few updates for the BFRO's 2024 expedition schedule. BFRO founder Matt Moneymaker announced 7 more dates and times. Both Washington State and West Virginia will have second expeditions that will respectively happen on August 8th to 11th and October 17th to 20th. Some new expeditions that were added for 2024 are happening in the states of California, Colorado, Texas, North Carolina, and New Jersey. All 5 outings will respectively occur in the months of July, August, May, and April. This brings the total number of 2024 BFRO expeditions to 19 that will be held in 15 different U.S. states and 1 Canadian province. Check out the BFRO website for more information on signing up and make sure to grab your spot quickly because these expeditions do fill up fast. I personally intended 2 in 2023 and will try to make at least 1 or 2 next year, so maybe we'll wind up crossing paths at one of them.
A Bigfoot researcher is convinced he's found a 9-inch footprint of the elusive creature. Chuck Headley posted on the Facebook group Bigfoot Believers a number of images showcasing what looked like an outline of a rather large footprint stuck in thick mud. The footprint, which was spotted in Ritchie County, West Virginia, had the outline of 5 stumpy toes and seemed to show that the creature had walked out of a small body of water. To measure the footprint, Headley used a tape measure across the front of it, showing how wide it was. And while the image is somewhat convincing, skeptics were still cynical, asking the same old thing: why only 1 footprint? Again, I'm asking the same question. Why, Chuck, only 1 footprint? What do you think? Let us know in the comments section.
A pair of researchers were poking around in a Central Florida cemetery when they got this ominous figure on the infrared camera. Check it out. This video was posted on the YouTube channel of a group called Bigfoot World Cryptids Paranormal Research of Central Florida, Ocala, Florida. Interestingly enough, both investigators say their equipment never went off to indicate the figure's presence. Towards the end, they also report a strong odor, although I don't believe they described exactly how it smelled. Both these attributes, strong odors, equipment not working, are common traits associated with Bigfoot. And these creatures are said to be frequently reported in or near cemeteries. So what do you think they caught on this video? A Bigfoot, person, or something otherworldly? The full video is over 11 minutes long. There's a link in the description if you want to check it out.
A YouTube content creator that goes by the name The Trek Planner, who has absolutely no vested interest in the subject of Bigfoot, was recently in the Utah backcountry filming stock forest footage when something or someone through something at his drone very, very fast. Take a look.
I spent about an hour flying my drone, and when I was doing my last flight for the day, I saw something really weird fly by my drone. Did you see it? I didn't think too much of it until I got home and was reviewing the footage again. In closer inspection, there is this odd object, flying very fast next to my drone. I have no idea what it is. It looks long and flat, and it was flying very fast upward. It doesn't appear to be a bird or insect. You can even see it curve around here near the creek and then come straight to my drone. I jokingly refer to this as Bigfoot's boomerang because it's such a mystery. What do you think it is?
Now, even if that wasn't Bigfoot, you have to admit it's still very, very strange to happen like that, and whatever that is, so far in the backcountry of Utah. And that's this week's Bigfoot Rundown.
The Bigfoot Rundown.
It's time for Chuck Larson and this week's Top 5 Bigfoot Podcasts and Livestreams.
Hey everyone, it's Chuck Larson again with my top 5 podcasts and live streams for the week of November 27th, 2023. Kicking us off at number 5, it's Squatch TV and Paranormal Podcast. The host Mike cracks me up. His rock throwing incident at Salt Fork State Park was pretty entertaining.
Yeah, my first experience I ever had with a Bigfoot, it was rocks being thrown at me.
Oh, wow. How about you, Debbie? Anything ever thrown? I thought someone did at the cabin. Didn't someone have
that happened to Matt and his girlfriend when we were out on that deck. That's what started that. All kinds of stuff was going on. I don't know. It was just loud noises. He thought stuff was being thrown at the deck area.
Okay.
Yeah, it was turning it. I was getting crazy out there, and something big hit, and then that's when he ran in the cabin.
At number 4, it's Heartland Bigfoot, encountered by drivers. This is a pretty cool story of a truck driver encountering a Bigfoot on the Idaho border.
Neither is Bigfoot, as I found out, because one ran across my field of vision right then, and I couldn't even get the camera ready by the time it was gone. Honestly, for a second, I didn't even know what I saw. I just saw something big run behind some of the trees, and it didn't cross my mind until after, when I was standing there with my jaw hanging open, to think about what it actually was that I saw.
Coming in at number 3, it's Cryptid Creatures, episode 152, They Are Real. On this episode, they have one of their listeners, Robin, help interview their guest Todd about his encounter. Pretty cool concept.
Richard and I are face to face talking, and all of a sudden a light kicks on behind us, and not realizing that, there was a motion sensor light there. We didn't know that. I asked Richard, I said, why did it kick the light on? And I looked over and I could see in the house, and they're still in there doing video recording. So about that time, Richard about spits his water. He's taking a drink of water, about spits his water out and points right over my shoulder and says, there's a Bigfoot. So I stand up and I turn around, and I'm looking, and we measured this later, 98 feet away, standing beside a tree, there was, and I'm looking, of course, I'm 12 feet up in the air, and being a photographer, I'm always looking at animal height here in Ohio. We got deers and a few bears here and there. So I'm looking at that height. Richard's always told me, don't look down, you look up. And so as I'm looking down, I see these two big black tree trunks standing beside this tree, and just huge and hairy. And I start to scroll my eyes up, and I'm going, I see him. And just as my eyes go up, I can see the outline of the body, and then the light shuts off.
There you go. At number 2, it's Untold Radio's Monsters on the Edge. Hannah Violet and her husband Scott explain how she uses singing to communicate with the Bigfoot.
But when he brought back his picture from his encounter in 2018, it was like, oh, there's something there. And so that's when I started going out with him, and when I started thinking maybe it's not just a hobby, maybe it's not maybe there's something more to this. And that's when I started to get to know what he was doing, started to dig in just a little bit to the research that, people like Dr. Meldrum had done. And it started interesting me a little bit more. So.
And at number 1 for this week's top 5 list, it's Small Town Monsters, Sasquatch Unearthed, Mountain State Monsters. I'm a big fan of Alex, and I'm a big fan of Brian Seach and his wife Terry. So this episode checks all those boxes.
Because there's a lot of evidence that's coming out, there's a lot of data that's going to be coming out, hopefully, with a lot of this UAP stuff that's going to kind of tie into this. And there's a good possibility that we are dealing with something that is way weirder than we could possibly ever imagine.
Getting people to talk to you, it takes a while. Sometimes a good while, back and forth through emails and stuff like that. And you have to build a rapport with them. And eventually you do, and they'll open up, and sometimes even that depends on how you question them, what comes forward.
All right, folks, it pains me once again to tell you that we are all out of time for this week's episode. Episode 37 is now in the books. I'd like to thank you for watching and remind you once again to like and share everything we do here at the Catskill Appalachian Research Collective. You got to tell your friends. And if you have any questions or comments, or maybe a story you'd like to see us cover on the news, you can always drop us a line at thisweekinbigfootnewscast@gmail.com. So, until next week, for Mike Luci, Chuck Larson, and Snowwalker Prime, I'm Brendon Brown, reminding you that when it comes to getting your Bigfoot news, be informed, not biased. Take care. We'll see you next week.